Hi, this is Dr. Anita with a raw diamond moment. As you know, in the United States, we've had a very large upheaval to take place as the United States Supreme Court brought forth a decision relating to the presidential immunity stemming from a case that a former president submitted in light of the numerous charges that had been placed against him. And in that, the Supreme Court made a decision that many say diametrically opposes the Constitution of this country. I want us to take some time and just allow ourselves to take in and consider whether or not the glass is half full or the glass is half empty, and that all surrounds and revolves around your perspective. One of the things that I've noticed is that many times Mr. Trump's words are being redefined by those who support his ideas. They frequently say, when he makes a controversial statement, "Oh, he didn't mean that." And I would counter that with, Mr. Trump is an adult and has been for many years. Whether or not you agree with the level of recognition that he has in this country or not, he is an adult who has had the ability to speak his mind for many years, not needing someone to go back and say, "Oh, that's not what he meant," because it absolutely is what he meant. When we think back over the years of his presidency and we think about the time since he left office and all of the many, just about daily interactions we've had with either his image, his actual words, or those who are seeking to re-speak what he spoke, we realize that he shows us a consistent image of himself. He doesn't change his image. He continues with the same image of himself. And I want us to understand that as an adult, at any given time, he has the ability to change the presentation that he presents to the general public and the world. And yet he doesn't. One thing that Mr. Trump has continued to say, and I listen to a person, sometimes people will say things, when they say things more than one time, it's because that is important to them. And I've heard him say repeatedly this old story about a snake, okay? And the story is that an old lady was walking in the woods and she found a snake that was nearly dead, and she scooped it up, she brought it into the house, she warmed up the snake, she fed it, she took care of it, and the snake bit her. And when she wondered, "Why would you bite me? I have been kind to you. I kept you alive," the answer from the snake was, "Well, you knew that I was a snake before you brought me in." It's interesting because Mr. Trump has told that story at various rallies, and they've reported it during his first presidential campaign. He's continued to say those same things during the interim in which he was not president. And he continues relaying that story about the snake who, when it was revived, bit the hand of the people or the lady who saved it with the understanding you knew what I was in the first place. One of the things that I am always amazed at is when someone tells you exactly how they feel to your face, and then you dismiss their statement with the thought that, oh, they're not talking about me. They're not talking about me. And I want to offer this to you, that if they are an adult and able to express themselves in an understandable manner, and they make a statement and you interpret it as, oh, they're not talking about me, they absolutely are also including you. If that person hasn't said or qualified that description as in, oh, I hate red and I hate people that wear red, and your favorite color is red, you always wear red, and you have on red as they're speaking to you, and you think to yourself, oh, they're not talking about me. I want to offer to you the fact that they are talking about you. That person who is an adult, who is able to communicate effectively in any other situation, could have excluded you from that by saying, oh, Sally, oh, Jane, oh, John, I don't mean you. I'm talking about these other people. I don't mean the color red that you wear every day. I'm talking about the color red that these other people wear. If they didn't do that, they're talking about you. Again, most adults have the ability and the wherewithal to say what they mean, and in the majority of those instances, I would say that they mean exactly what they said. It's very interesting because I'm always amazed at those who have been targeted in comments like poisoning the blood of the country, and then naming a group of people, and then going back and finding out that that very group of people has neglected to include themselves within that statement because they believe, oh, he's not talking about me. And I would offer to you, unless he excluded you by name, yes, he's talking about you. So when we have unique situations that come up, like we did this past week, when the Supreme Court seemed to have ruled in Mr. Trump's, to his advantage, I want us to utilize the skill sets that we've learned on A Diamond Moment with Dr. Anita. And I want us to think very critically. I want us to think about the timing in which the Supreme Court brought out this decision. I want us to think about what was stated in that decision, what was put up in that decision that possibly can be construed using a different perspective, changing our perspective. If you remember, I've said it over and over and over. One small change changes everything. And where we have brought into our minds a specific way that things operate, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's accurate and that's the way it is. Many times, again, that's not referring to me. And again, I offer, yes, it is. And also looking at any particular topic from more than one perspective, not necessarily looking at it from a completely conservative perspective, not looking at it from a particularly liberal perspective, but looking at it from a different perspective. The one thing that we know is that there's been a number of opportunities for Mr. Trump to have been removed from office, for him to have been impeached 2 times and to have lost an election, and in so losing, had begun to say before he ever started running that if I lose, the election is rigged. And then I want us to think about what a rigged election would look like and why he would say that. I heard one of the Electoral College delegates state the fact that even though Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and then we saw that she did not win the Electoral College vote, that there may be a reason for that. If you understand how this country is supposed to work, our governmental officials and those who have been appointed to represent our voices, when they get in office, when they get in position, when it is called upon for them to do the service to the country that they were positioned to do, they have to do it. And if they don't, our voice is not heard. I heard following Mr. Trump's victory, and I'm saying that with a question mark, in the Electoral College, one of the delegates said that before he would let Hillary Clinton win the electoral vote, that vote, that he would rather vote for himself, write his own name into that slot than to put hers. And so even though the area that he represented overwhelmingly supported Hillary Clinton as the president, that one individual person said, I would rather put my own name in there than hers. And he did not cast the vote that he was sent there to do. Okay. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because Mr. Trump continues to say that the election was stolen. And from that very real perspective, using that one instance for a person who overwhelmingly won the vote of the people, and then to lose the Electoral College vote, yeah, the election was stolen, but it wasn't stolen from Donald Trump. It was stolen from Hillary Clinton. And so in that same way that Mr. Trump puts and gives you a fact, but twist it to twist that fact, and somehow or another, the delegate who said he would vote for himself rather than give it to Hillary, he did skew the results of that popular vote because it didn't agree with his personal thought on who or what he wanted to see in the White House. So I'm saying that again to say we have to really look at and challenge things and look at them from a number of perspectives before we just automatically give up, throw in the towel, you fill in the blank. The Supreme Court said that anything that a president does within his presidential duties is exempt. It's they will have immunity for anything that they do within the scope of the official presidential duties. And I want to offer the fact that one of the scopes of the presidential duties is to keep this country safe. It is to safeguard the democracy of the United States and to do what's necessary in order for the democracy to remain stable. What I heard and what I've seen over the past has been that anyone who came forward to stand up against Mr. Trump was immediately, upon leaving the room with him, now they're in agreement. They're, no problem. There's nothing, I was tripping. That's just me. I don't know why I was thinking that. And so they leave the face-to-face meeting in which they were going to get him straight. And somehow, as that old TV show says, they were scared straight. And they ceased their true position and took on the position that he insisted that they take. Okay? We saw it happen with Mitch McConnell immediately after the January 6th insurrection. And he said without stuttering, his voice was clear, that he blamed Donald Trump for what happened, that all of their lives were in danger. And he attributed that to Donald Trump, as did many, 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 many of the other senators and congresspeople immediately following that act, including Kevin McCarthy, who was the Speaker of the House at that time, the leader. And he also attributed that attack on Donald Trump until he went to Mar-a-Lago. And when he came back from Mar-a-Lago, automatically, all of a sudden, everything was just perfect and it was fine and there was no problem, and it needs to continue like it did. I want to go back and I want to jog your memory once again to the fact that Mr. Trump has often said that, and it's been reported, I don't know him personally, but it's been reported that he's very much likes that mob boss, that being, most people at this point have seen The Godfather, the movie, and they understand that there was this scene in which The Godfather said, "I'm going to make you an offer that you can't refuse." And whenever he did that, all of a sudden the people who were coming to bring some type of gripe or something that they weren't happy with, they left amazingly fine. It's like, I don't know why I thought that. I have no clue. Now, it could just be because I'm an avid movie fan and I really enjoy going to movies and watching movies. And I've seen so many of these particular types of dramas in which the person sat behind, the person of question sat behind a desk and they were just calm and weren't worried about anything, maybe had a stack of papers or maybe a file in front of them. And then the person who came in, who was upset, and they were demanding change and they were demanding that this should take place and that should happen, the person just slid the file over to the person that was objecting. And when they opened the file, they would see stuff like pictures of their child playing on the playground, or pictures of their wife having lunch with her friends, or maybe their parents out on a walk. And then all of a sudden, that person who had all of those opinions and wanted to change things said, "You know what, maybe it ain't so bad. Maybe this is fine. Maybe I don't have anything to say. Thank you for your time." And then they immediately exit. And after watching for so long, people who seem to be so committed to the stance of fairness and equality walk into a room thinking one way, or at least telling us that they're thinking one way, and then walk out of the room thinking an entirely different way. I remember watching the Supreme Court nominees and listen to the answers that they gave regarding many of the topics that we see in the news today, many of the things that are very controversial today. And I won't go into those. I won't name out. I'm sure that you're able, if you've paid any type of attention, that you're able to know many different issues that the country is dealing with right now. And each of these Supreme Court nominees all said, "We believe in the rule of law. We believe that no one is above the rule of law. We believe that that settled law that has been challenged and come back and be proven to be law, that they should remain." So what it takes me back is, how did things change? If they should have remained the same, if they believe that no one was above the law, how is it that now someone is above the law? And it takes me back to that scene at the table when the person pushes the file over and the person who brought the complaint opens it and sees something that was very near and dear to their heart, which would have been the only thing that would cause them to change their mind on that particular topic. And it just makes you, as we've heard people say, just makes you go, that's interesting. So, whether or not our Supreme Court has been held under duress in order to do whatever it is that they have to do in order to move forward in their lives, to continue, not necessarily seeking more power, but simply to maintain status quo. I just wonder. I wonder, and it could just be me, I'm just one person, but I wonder. I also wonder regarding that decision, whether another message is being sent. And for people who have said, oh, Mr. Biden would never do what Mr. Trump would do. And I'm going to leave that sitting there. I'm not going to complete the sentence or the thought. I think that you understand. But that takes us back to the conversation that we have been having over the past few weeks, waiting on the world to change. And we've come to understand we must be the change that we're waiting for. In the same way that you would not allow someone else to move in your position, you would have to stand up and take your rightful place. We're not able to leave breathing up to someone else to do for us. If we don't breathe for ourselves, we won't live. We can't wait for someone else to eat a plate of food and think that we're going to get full. We have to eat for ourselves. And we cannot watch someone else sleep and by osmosis become rested. We have to lay down and sleep for ourselves. There are some things in life that as adults we have to do for ourselves. I don't know whether it'll come up in the episode that's going to be our regular episode that's going to come out this week or the following week, because I'm a couple of weeks out in my recording. But I made a statement about something that I heard, and it was very enlightening to me. And it says, the statement was, what do I think about myself that makes this okay? What is it that I think about myself that makes it okay for me to stay home from the polls, for me to not become engaged, for me not to pay attention to what's taking place that's going to affect myself or those that I love? What is it that I think about myself that makes that okay? And I would answer that by saying, maybe you think that you don't matter. Maybe you think that you're so small that what would affect you doesn't matter. Maybe you think that you would never be attacked. Maybe you think that he's fine. I have no problem with him. I like the fact that he says things that are controversial and he's brass and all the rest of that. And that's wonderful if that's what you think. Again, I'm not the person to tell you who to vote for. I just am questioning and challenging. Why would you put everything in the hands of a person who does not live the life that you live? And I know that many people have said, well, he's going to fight for us. And I would say, really? Because when he was in office, he gave the tax breaks to the wealthy. And I know that Ronald Reagan had this concept of the trickle-down effect, but it didn't trickle down then, and it didn't trickle down when Mr. Trump was in office. So how is a trickle-down going to work for you? He's helped people who are billionaires, who they'll be able to eat in their children and their children's children's children until you just keep going with the untils. And some people are living from paycheck to paycheck. And I want to break that down even farther. Some people get paid by the week. So that means they are 7 days away from disaster. Not a month, one paycheck away. And yet you have given your power to a person who doesn't have an issue with going on any form of media and asking you to give them your little $2 so that they won't have to pay a cost for the decisions that they made in their lives. I have seen people, and it amazes me, that when he is disparaging people from Latin American countries, and they're Latin American in thinking, that he's not talking about them. People who come from a Middle Eastern familial background and think that he's not talking about you. Or people who he said are poisoning the blood of this country. And he specifically named Africa, the Central American countries, the Mexican or Spanish-speaking countries, and the Middle Eastern countries. And people think that, oh, I'm not from Africa, I'm from here. Well, if you lined yourself up in a group of people, guess which ones they're going to pick that they think have African heritage? Just guess. You don't have to comment out loud, just think about it. So, is he talking about you? And can you actually run the risk in thinking that he's not, and realizing, as he said over and over and over, I said exactly what I meant. You turned it around that that's not what he meant, but he says exactly what he means. So, I hope that as we move forward, you'll utilize your voice in order to turn the country around, to not sit and feel as though you have no ability to change things. And for me personally, I would rather try and fail than not try at all. So I hope that you will vote. Is Mr. Biden the best choice that we have? In terms of decency, I absolutely believe so. Is he a more mature and older gentleman? Well, I would ask you to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders and see how you walk. Every president that we've had has entered the White House looking one way and exited the White House looking a different way, except Mr. Trump. Because as it was widely discussed, Mr. Trump was basically looking at TV and eating burgers. So, if that's who you choose to support, that's who you choose to support. I respect your choice. But if you're looking and waiting for the world to change, you're going to have to be that change by making your voice heard, whether you feel that it's going to be counted or not. If you have a child or a wife, a grandchild, think about what this country would be like under a dictatorship, because as he has said, and once again, he says that I meant exactly what I said. I only need to be a dictator the first day. Let's go back and look at history and remember what happened on the first day of his first presidential term, and that was that he undid everything, including nuclear disarmament plans. Okay? Just undid everything. No more climate change. Let the climate go. If you're interested in breathing for your children and your grandchildren, later on down the line, then, oh well. Remember what he did. He turned and changed and turned everything and stopped legislation that was really benefiting others. They tried everything that they could to take away affordable health care, and they weren't able to do that. But he was willing to let you be sick and broke and can't breathe so that the wealthy could have what they wanted. So I'm going to say to you what our renowned Maya Angelou said, and that is, when a person shows you who they are, believe them the first time. When you see what's possible, then you understand, as you're waiting for the world to change, you have got to be that change. You need to make your voice heard. You need to do what you know is right for yourself. And hopefully, what you determine is right for yourself will be right for all of the people in this country, not just those who look a particular way. Please subscribe. Please follow. Please help. Please share this podcast or this video. Join me on NoomVibe on FanBase. Visit my website. Think about it. This is Dr. Anita with a Raw Diamond.